Hi there and welcome to the channel of A Disappointed Man with me, Jason Kennedy, the Disappointed Man. Now in this video I'll be talking about this book, Agnes Grey by Anne Brontë, published in 1847, the same year of course that her sisters Emily and Charlotte published Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre respectively. In most of my videos at this point I would provide some background information on my author and their works, but in the case of Anne Brontë, this is not necessary for two reasons. Firstly, the Brontë sisters are world famous and thus require no introduction. And secondly, Agnes Grey is itself highly autobiographical, drawing heavily as it does on Anne's 5 years of experience as a governess. So in this case, we can simply move on to the story. The story runs something like this. Agnes is the highly religious daughter of a clergyman who, seeking to improve the family fortunes, makes a speculative investment. He loses everything, thus destroying the family fortunes and leaving him a broken man. The women of the household take over, Agnes, her mother and her sister Mary, and begin dealing with the debts. As part of this process, Agnes expresses a wish to enter service as a governess. She duly obtains her first position with the Bloomfield family, trying to educate two absolute tearaways. After a time, she is fired from this position and returns home crestfallen but undeterred. She heads out for a second stint as a governess, this time with the Murray family. There are 4 children. The 2 boys quickly go off to school, leaving her with Rosalie, an incorrigible flirt who is approaching marriageable age, and her younger sister, Matilda, a tomboy who likes to swear and hunt. While with the Murrays, Agnes makes the acquaintance of a curate, Mr. Weston, and thus begins a friendship / extremely chaste romance, which is set against Rosalie's flirting with all the men in the community, which ends with Rosalie marrying Lord Ashby. After leaving service, Agnes goes to work at a school that her mother has established after their father's death, and it is here that she is reunited with Mr. Weston for the inevitable happy ending. I'm going to divide my response to Agnes Grey into 3 parts. In the first, I'll deal with the account of being a governess. In the second, the romance with Mr. Weston. And in the third, I'll make some gentle criticisms of this novel. But before that, I have to make a more basic point. Most of the books I read, the pleasure I get from them is of an intellectual kind. However, Agnes Grey is different. It aims squarely at the reader's heart, and we must judge it on those terms. So the big question is, did it seize a hold of my heart? And the answer would be, with regards being a governess, yes. With regards the love affair with Mr. Weston, yes, but. And you'll see how that works in what follows. So let's begin with the account of being a governess. Now, as I noted in the summary of the story, Agnes does 2 stints as a governess, and it's the first of these with the Bloomfield family, which I feel is a far more significant contribution to the literature on this topic than the second one. And it really helps you understand the situation of an accomplished middle-class woman having to enter service because her parents simply don't have enough money to help her attract a husband. And all she really has to look forward to is spinsterhood. And her position in the home is extremely isolated. She can be ignored when the family feel like it. She can also be criticized when they feel like it. And of course, the children are more or less free to terrorize her. In addition, as a teacher, it engaged my sympathies even more. While I do usually teach in the classroom, I have done private tutoring in the past, which has involved going to the homes of students, and I absolutely hated this. And the worst moment, the most degrading incident, was when a mother gave me a dressing down because I had dried my hands with the wrong towel after using the bathroom. Yes, I came outside that house, looked at the sky and swore, Jason, you will never set foot in that place again. And I never did. So this experience with the Bloomfields certainly struck a chord with me. If we move on to the second stint as a governess, the love interest is included here, while Agnes is at the Murray household, and we have this plotting of Rosalie's conquests while Agnes's friendship / romance is developing with Mr. Weston, and there are kind of overlapping moments which seem to me very much genre fiction. It doesn't really have much sense that this is being drawn from life, and that's why I say it's not really of great value. I'm reading Jane Austen's Persuasion at the moment, and this whole section of Agnes Grey reads just like a Jane Austen novel, and the sympathies that were engaged while Agnes was at the Bloomfields begin, for me at least, to be tested during this section, because you are kind of strung along waiting for something to happen, and there are many chances for Mr. Weston and Agnes to declare their feelings for one another, but it just never quite happens. And this continual postponement, I did feel that I was rather being played with, and so the love part at the Murrays did not really work for me so well. That criticism rather leads on to my other criticisms, and the first of these is of a technical nature. It's to do with the narrative itself. If you read the opening page of Agnes Grey, it makes it clear that this confession is being written many years after the events it recounts. However, when you're reading the novel, it switches very subtly to a simultaneous narration. That is, that what you're reading is supposed to be happening at that moment. I found this deficiency did nag away at my enjoyment rather. The next criticism is the excessive moralizing. Agnes is a good Christian, and she never gives you a chance to forget it. And there is one moment when she's offering advice, in inverted commas, to Rosalie about how to deal with being trapped in a loveless marriage. And I think many people hearing these words might be tempted to give Agnes Grey a little advice for herself. And it goes like this. I said what I could to comfort her, and offered such counsels as I thought she most required, advising her first by gentle reasoning, by kindness, example, and persuasion, to try to ameliorate her husband, and then, when she had done all she could, if she still found him incorrigible, to endeavour to abstract herself from him, to wrap herself up in her own integrity, and trouble herself as little about him as possible. I exhorted her to seek consolation in doing her duty to God and man, to put her trust in heaven, and solace herself with the care and nurture of her little daughter, assuring her she would be amply rewarded by witnessing its progress in strength and wisdom, and receiving its genuine affection. You take my point. It's perhaps a little overdone. And there we have it. I think I've said enough about Agnes Grey. I really did enjoy this novel. Despite its deficiencies, I would still very much recommend that you pick it up and read it. As you know, I'm not going to waste anyone's time reviewing books on my channel that I simply think are not worthy of your attention. So of course, on the whole, it is an excellent book. That's it for this video. I will bid you farewell, but before going, I must, of course, repeat my mantra. Be safe, be strong, and until the next time, nanu nanu.